When you make the decision to rebuild yourself, the very first step isn't about setting goals, writing affirmations, or constructing elaborate plans. It begins with something far deeper, something more difficult, and something most people try to avoid for as long as they can. It begins with taking full responsibility for where you are right now. That's not an easy pill to swallow. It forces you to confront the brutal truth that your current life, your habits, your results, your circumstances, is a reflection of the choices you've made up to this point. Now, maybe some of those choices were small, so small they felt invisible at the time. Maybe it was the decision to hit snooze one more time, to put off starting that project, to settle for less in a relationship, or to numb your discomfort with distractions. Individually, none of these seemed catastrophic, but over time they compound, and suddenly you wake up one day and realize you're far from where you want to be. That realization can crush you, or it can free you. Because if your choices led you here, then your choices can also lead you out. Responsibility isn't about self-blame, and it's not about drowning in guilt. It's about reclaiming control. The moment you say, "This is on me," you take the steering wheel back into your hands. You stop being a passenger in your own life, thrown around by every bump and curve in the road, and instead you begin to chart the course towards something greater. Now, people resist this idea because responsibility feels heavy, and yes, it is heavy. It's supposed to be heavy. Life itself is heavy, but that weight, when carried with courage, becomes the very thing that strengthens you. Imagine walking into a gym and avoiding every piece of equipment because the weights look intimidating. You'd leave just as weak as when you entered. Life is the same. Avoid the weight of responsibility, and you stay fragile, brittle, easily broken. But when you pick it up, when you shoulder it willingly, you begin to transform. Slowly at first, painfully even, but inevitably into someone stronger than you were before. The alternative is far worse. To reject responsibility is to accept powerlessness. It's to live as if your life is dictated by luck, fate, or the whims of others. And that kind of life corrodes the soul. It breeds resentment, bitterness, and despair. You've seen it before, in people who blame everyone and everything for why they never moved forward. They grow cynical, angry, and hollow. That's not a fate you want for yourself. So the choice becomes clear. Either carry the burden of responsibility or collapse under the illusion of victimhood. In these 90 days, this is the ground you must stand on. Every action you take, every routine you implement, every sacrifice you make will mean nothing if you haven't accepted that where you are is yours to own. It's the foundation upon which everything else will be built. And once that foundation is secure, something remarkable happens. You stop being terrified of failure, because even if you stumble, even if you fall short, you know it's still within your control to rise again. Think of the power in that. To know that your life is not some chaotic mess governed by forces outside your reach, but something you can shape, sculpt, and direct through your own decisions. That's not just responsibility, it's liberation. It's the moment you step out of the shadows of excuses and into the light of possibility. So if you want to rebuild yourself in 90 days, start here. Take a long, unflinching look at your life as it is and own every piece of it. Not with shame, but with determination, not with despair, but with resolve. Because once you claim responsibility for where you are, you also claim responsibility for where you're going. And there is no force more powerful than a person who finally realizes that their life is in their hands. If you've taken responsibility for where you are, the next challenge is to break free from the patterns that have kept you there. Because no matter how much you want to rebuild your life, if you keep doing the same things you've always done, you'll keep ending up in the same place. That's the hard truth. The person you are today is a product of your patterns, your habits, your routines, the unconscious choices you repeat day after day. And many of those patterns, if you're honest with yourself, are not serving you. They may have started as small comforts or little escapes, but now they've become chains. Think about it. How many times have you promised yourself that you'd change only to slip right back into the same old routines? You say you'll wake up earlier, but the snooze button wins. You say you'll quit wasting time, but hours vanish into distraction. You say you'll finally commit to your health, but the excuses flood in. And every time this cycle repeats, you reinforce the identity of someone who can't follow through. That's how patterns trap you, not just in what you do, but in how you see yourself. But here's the good news: patterns are not destiny. They're just grooves worn into your brain and your behavior over time. And just as they were built, they can be dismantled. The process is not easy. It requires awareness first, the courage to notice what you've been doing on autopilot. You can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. Once you see the patterns clearly, you can begin to interrupt them. That's the key: interruption. Even the smallest disruption in an old routine can start to loosen its grip. Imagine you always turn to your phone when you feel stressed. That's a pattern. The next time the urge rises, stop for 30 seconds and breathe instead. It sounds simple, almost trivial, but it's not. It's a crack in the armor of the old self, and the more cracks you create, the weaker the pattern becomes. Over time, you replace it with something stronger, something that aligns with the person you want to become. That's how you shift from the identity of someone trapped to someone rebuilding. Of course, breaking patterns also means confronting the comfort they gave you. Many of your destructive habits exist because they protected you from discomfort, from pain, from fear. But growth lies on the other side of that discomfort. If you always retreat when things get hard, you'll never rebuild. You'll just decorate the ruins of your old life and call it progress. So you must face the truth that breaking patterns means embracing discomfort. It's choosing the harder path now to secure a stronger path later. And it's not just about removing the bad. You can't just rip out old patterns and leave a void. Nature hates a vacuum, and so does your mind. You must replace the destructive with the constructive. If you stop numbing yourself with mindless scrolling, fill that time with reading, journaling, or learning. If you stop wasting evenings in meaningless distraction, use them to build your skills, your fitness, or your relationships. In doing so, you're not just cutting away what's broken. You're laying bricks for something solid, something lasting. These 90 days are not a magic formula, but they are enough time to begin reshaping the grooves of your life. It won't happen all at once. You'll slip. You'll fall back into old patterns from time to time. But that doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're in the fight, and the fight itself is proof that you're not the same person you were yesterday. So remember this: if you want to rebuild yourself, you cannot drag the wreckage of your old patterns into the new foundation. You must burn them, release them, and replace them with actions that align with your vision, because nothing new is built on the same broken patterns. And if you dare to break them, you will finally be free to become someone greater than you've ever been. Once you've accepted responsibility for where you are, and once you've begun breaking free from the patterns that held you back, the next step is to decide who it is you want to become. This is not a trivial matter. Too many people try to change their lives without a clear picture of where they're going. They tell themselves they want to be better, but better is vague. Better has no shape, no direction. And without direction, your effort scatters into the wind. You end up working hard but moving in circles, always busy yet never transformed. To rebuild yourself in 90 days, you must design a vision that's sharp enough to guide you and compelling enough to pull you forward when discipline feels heavy. Think of it as building an internal compass. Without it, you drift. With it, you have a point of orientation, a true north that makes every decision clearer. When temptation arises, when old habits creep in, when doubt whispers that you can't do it, Your vision becomes the answer to those voices. But you must go beyond the surface. Don't just imagine more money, a better body, or greater success. Ask yourself, who do I want to be at the core? What kind of character do I want to embody? How do I want others to experience me? How do I want to experience myself when I wake up in the morning and look in the mirror? If your vision is only about external rewards, it will crumble under pressure. But if it's rooted in becoming someone you respect, someone you trust, someone you admire, then it will carry weight. That vision should be detailed, but not rigid. You're not writing a script. You're sketching a blueprint. Picture the kind of life you want to live, the habits you want to carry, the strength you want to cultivate. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Let it feel real enough that it stirs something inside you. Because once you see it clearly, your brain begins to work toward it, even unconsciously. Suddenly opportunities stand out, choices align, and actions make sense in the context of who you're becoming. Of course, clarity does not mean perfection. You don't need to know every detail of how you'll get there. The road will reveal itself as you walk it. What matters is that you stop living as though the future is an accident waiting to happen. It isn't. The future is something you shape with intention. It is sculpted day by day, decision by decision, 90 days at a time. And if you don't design it, you risk becoming someone you never chose to be. That's the real danger, not failure, not setbacks, but drifting into a life that feels empty because you never aimed at anything higher. So when you think about these 90 days, ask yourself, who will I be at the end of them? Not in vague terms, but in precise, concrete ways. Will I be more disciplined? Will I be stronger, calmer, more focused, more courageous? Will I have rebuilt my confidence, my health, my integrity? Make it so vivid that you can feel it, because what you can feel, you can build. A vision is not a fantasy. It's a responsibility you give to yourself. It's a contract between who you are and who you could be. And the truth is, there's nothing more tragic than a person who refuses to see the possibility of who they might become. Don't be that person. Dare to look at your highest potential and declare, that's who I'm building. Because when your vision is clear, your path is straight and nothing, no distraction, no failure, no weakness, can keep you from becoming the person you are meant to be. If you've taken responsibility, broken free from destructive patterns, and begun to design a vision of who you want to become, the next step is to build the bridge that carries you from where you are to where you're going. That bridge is discipline, and it's built through daily structure. People often make the mistake of waiting for motivation, as though some burst of energy or inspiration will carry them forward day after day. But motivation is unreliable. It rises and falls with mood, with circumstances, with the unpredictability of life. Discipline, on the other hand, is steady. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel in the moment. It demands action regardless. Structure creates the conditions for discipline to thrive. Without structure, every day becomes chaos. You wake up late, scramble through tasks, and end up exhausted with little to show for it. Time slips away, wasted on distractions and indecision. But when you impose structure, when you decide in advance how your hours will be spent, you transform your days into building blocks. And 90 days of disciplined building can reshape your entire life. Start with the morning. The way you begin the day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you wake up and immediately surrender to comfort, to your phone, to laziness, you've already lost ground. But if you begin with intention, whether that's exercise, journaling, reading, or even a few quiet moments of reflection, you signal to yourself that this day will not own you, you will own it. That kind of consistency compounds. Each morning becomes proof that you are someone capable of choosing discipline over ease. But structure isn't just about mornings. It's about weaving discipline into the entire fabric of your day. That means deciding in advance what matters most and protecting time for it. About on nan, when you work, when you rest, when you invest in yourself, and when you connect with others. Without these boundaries, life will always find ways to steal your time. Social media, endless notifications, meaningless tasks, they all conspire to scatter your focus. Structure is your defense. It creates order in the chaos, so your energy goes where it truly matters. Now, it's important to understand that discipline isn't meant to suffocate you. It isn't about stripping life of spontaneity or joy. It's about creating enough order so that you can actually experience freedom. Without discipline, you're a slave to impulses, to cravings, to distractions. With discipline, you become the master of your own time. That paradox is worth reflecting on. Discipline doesn't take freedom away. It's what makes freedom possible. In these 90 days, your structure won't be flawless. You'll stumble, you'll miss a morning, you'll fall into distraction. That's part of the process. Discipline isn't about never failing. It's about returning quickly when you do. The person with no structure fails once and never recovers. The disciplined person fails, adjusts, and continues forward. That persistence is what rebuilds you from the inside out. And here's the remarkable thing. The more structure you build, the less energy you waste. You don't have to wrestle with decisions every hour of the day. You know what needs to be done, and so you simply do it. That creates momentum, and momentum creates confidence. Before long, what once felt impossible becomes second nature. So when you think about these 90 days, don't ask yourself if you'll feel motivated enough to keep going. You won't. Instead, ask yourself if you're willing to create a structure strong enough to hold you when motivation fades. Because it will fade, but if you've built discipline into the bones of your day, you'll keep moving anyway. And that, more than anything else, is how ordinary people rebuild themselves into something extraordinary. If you want to rebuild yourself in 90 days, you cannot separate the mind from the body. Too many people try. They think they can improve their thinking without touching their physical health, or they try to train their body while ignoring the chaos in their mind. But the two are inseparably linked. A weak body drags the mind down, and a weak mind sabotages the body. Real transformation only happens when you strengthen both together, because they feed into each other in ways most people underestimate. Consider how your mind feels after weeks of poor sleep, no exercise, and unhealthy food. The fog sets in, your energy dips, even your willpower collapses. Suddenly tasks that should be manageable feel overwhelming. Now compare that to how you feel after consistent exercise, proper rest, and good nutrition. Your thoughts are sharper, your emotions steadier, your resilience higher. It's not a coincidence. Your brain lives inside your body, and it depends on how well you take care of that body to function properly. And the opposite is also true. A weak or scattered mind will destroy even the strongest body. Think of the person who starts a fitness plan but gives up at the first sign of discomfort. Their muscles are capable of more, but their mind surrenders. Or the person who works out religiously but fills their head with negativity, comparison, and self-doubt. No matter how strong they appear, their inner world remains fragile. That's why the task of rebuilding yourself must be holistic. It demands that you train the body and discipline the mind at the same time. Physical training is not just about aesthetics. It's about proving to yourself that you can endure discomfort, that you can push beyond your limits. Every time you force yourself through the last rep, every time you choose the run instead of the couch, you are not only shaping your muscles, you are shaping your character. You are teaching your mind that pain is not an enemy, but a pathway. You are showing yourself that struggle can be embraced rather than avoided. This builds the kind of resilience that bleeds into every other area of life. At the same time, you must train your mind with equal seriousness. That means paying attention to the quality of your thoughts. Do you feed yourself constant criticism, or do you cultivate a voice of encouragement? Do you allow every worry to dominate your focus? Or do you discipline your mind to return to what is within your control? Meditation, journaling, reading, even deliberate silence, all of these are ways to strengthen mental clarity and emotional balance. The mind, like the body, grows stronger through consistent exercise. When the two are trained together, a remarkable synergy takes place. A disciplined mind pushes the body to work harder, and a strong body provides the energy and stability the mind needs to function at its best. That's why people who commit to both often see exponential growth, not just incremental change. They stand taller, think clearer, act with more confidence, and endure life's difficulties with greater strength. They are not easily broken because they have fortified themselves on every level. These 90 days are the perfect testing ground. Each day you make a choice. Will you feed the weakness of the mind and body, or will you train them towards strength? If you neglect one, the other will eventually fall. But if you commit to both, you create a foundation so solid that even the storms of life cannot tear it apart. So as you walk this path of rebuilding, remember this truth: your body is the vessel, your mind is the captain, and both must be strong for the journey ahead. When you strengthen them together, you stop living as a fractured version of yourself and rise as someone unified, powerful, and whole. And there is nothing more formidable than a person whose mind and body move in unshakable harmony. At the end of these 90 days, if you've done the work, if you've taken responsibility, broken free from old patterns, built a vision, created structure, and strengthened both your mind and your body, something remarkable will happen. You won't simply be the same person with a few new habits. You will have emerged as someone stronger, wiser, and oriented toward the future in a way that many people never achieve. This isn't about polishing up the old version of yourself. It's about transformation. It's about burying who you were and stepping into who you were always meant to become. Strength is not only measured by muscle or toughness, it's measured by resilience. It's measured by the way you can stand up after being knocked down, the way you can carry burdens without collapsing, the way you can face hardship without running away. Over these 90 days, as you've carried the weight of responsibility, endured discomfort, and chosen discipline over ease, you've been carving strength into your very character. And that strength is permanent. It doesn't disappear when the 90 days end. It becomes a part of you, a resource you can draw on whenever life demands it. But strength alone is not enough. You also gain wisdom. Wisdom comes from reflection, from learning, from seeing yourself clearly. These 90 days force you to look in the mirror, to confront your flaws, to wrestle with your weaknesses. That's not comfortable, but it's necessary. And as you've done that work, you've gained insight not just into your habits and patterns, but into human nature itself. You've begun to understand why people fail, why they succeed, why they repeat mistakes, and how they grow. That kind of wisdom changes how you live, how you treat others, and how you guide yourself forward. The third piece is focus, specifically focus on the future. Too many people live chained to their past, constantly replaying their mistakes, resenting their losses, or wishing they could undo what's already done. But when you rebuild yourself, you stop living backward. You stop letting your past dictate your potential. Instead, you turn your eyes forward and realize that the future is not a threat. It's an opportunity. And it's yours to shape. These 90 days are proof that change is possible. If you can make progress here, you can make progress anywhere. You begin to see that who you were yesterday doesn't limit who you can become tomorrow. The truth is, this process never really ends at day 90. What happens is that you emerge with a new foundation. You're no longer fragile, no longer lost in excuses, no longer living at the mercy of old patterns. You are someone rebuilt, someone capable of building again and again as life evolves, because life will continue to challenge you. Storms will come, losses will happen, struggles will appear when you least expect them. But when you've rebuilt yourself once, you carry the knowledge that you can always do it again. That knowledge is power. So these 90 days are not just about change, they are about rebirth. They are about proving to yourself that you are not trapped by circumstance, not doomed by your past, not defined by your weaknesses. You are stronger than that, you are wiser than that, and you are someone who lives with your eyes on the horizon, walking forward with courage, clarity, and conviction. Because when you emerge from this process, you don't just have a new life, you have a new self. And that self is ready, not only to face the world as it is, but to shape the world into what it could be. Rebuilding yourself in 90 days is not about chasing a quick fix or some shallow reinvention. It's about laying down the foundations for a new identity, one built on responsibility, freedom from destructive patterns, a clear vision of who you're becoming, the discipline to sustain it, and the strength of mind and body working in harmony. It's about proving to yourself that change is possible, that growth is real, and that your future is not bound by your past. The journey will not be easy. It will demand honesty, courage, and persistence. You will stumble, you will be tested, but that is precisely where the transformation takes place. Because if you endure, if you choose to rise again and again, then 90 days from now you won't just be living differently, you'll be living as someone entirely new. And that, above all, is the greatest victory, to emerge as the architect of your own life, standing taller, stronger, and unshakably ready for the road ahead.